What's up, AKAPADers? Guys, it's Saturday, so good to see you. TGI Saturday. Friday is for the boys. So, today's going to be a little bit of a short video, but before we get to it, guys, I know this is true. Just based on the analytics, so many of you are watching, but you're not subscribing, you're not hitting that like, you're not ringing that bell. Guys, we talk about the real things here. We look at comic book history, and then we walk through the door, and we're looking at comic book history, and then we do this. We hit it from a different angle, and we just ask basic questions. I ask basic questions. When we hit the drawing table, guys, participate with me. Spend the money, make the investment, walk my path. Because if you're not going to walk my path, it's hard for you to have an opinion against what I'm about to show you guys. Now, we're not going to get into the opinion yet. I just want to show you guys the material we need to measure Bob Kane's claim against creating Batman, the greatest comic book creation of all time. I'm sorry, anyone out there that likes Speedball. I know, for the longest time, Speedball was my greatest comic book creation. Come on, Steve Ditko, come on. But guys, everything in here is refuted. It somehow became like a social movement where they have to go into the credits of the movies and add a guy's name. His name is Bill Finger. But where did that come from? Exactly why do we think that Bill Finger had anything to do with the creation of Batman? Now, I'm not saying it's definitive, but at one point we have to trust what we would consider evidence versus what is later claimed. I'm going to show you what you need to determine that. So let's hit that drawing table and let's go. And maybe one day we'll do a big Speedball episode. Let's get out of here. I think this is 2 or 3 day old coffee, AKAPADers. I hope you guys can see the morning sunshine. It's coming in. Welcome to Philadelphia, PA. Sorry about my sorry looking drawing desk. I know usually we don't have any artwork down, but I've just been battling between videographs. And let me know in the comments, let me know if you're constantly repurchasing your sizes or your measurements, because that's I'm on a cycle, and I order them through Amazon, so it's like every 3 years I have to repurchase these. But yeah, this is one of my books, one of my projects. So without that, we have to start here. We have to start with all the claims that Bob Kane made throughout all the years. Now, even here, like Tom Andre, he's a comic book historian, actually a big time comic book historian. He's like the co-writer, or you can say he's the writer of this. So you have a historian co-signing off on everything Bob Kane is saying. And everything Bob Kane says here, he has repeated for a long time. It's very hard to find inconsistencies within Bob Kane's story of how all of this came about. All right. With that said, inside of Batman and Me, we have this. Let's find it. We'll go right to it. And this is there's that documentary. The documentary glosses this over, and they have to. Where is it? Can I find it? It's right here, page 34. This is his original idea, right? So he is a student. He's a longtime friend. They went to school together, of a writer named Bill Finger. In this script here, he talks about how Bill Finger kind of wasn't good with deadlines. He wasn't all that reliable, which also explains why Bob Kane built this big studio around the Dark Knight, From early on, they had a studio system, but so did Superman. So did a lot of these other books and characters and titles. 1934. 1934. And then look, we're here. Look. 1939. The Detective Comics. Right here. 27. We know that, right? So he's a couple years ahead. Now, there was a discussion at one point, and this is what people go to. You gotta spend the money, guys. You have to get this. This is Steranko's History of Comics, which is essentially, these are just tape recorded interviews that Steranko sat down with people and let people talk. I mean, it's great for, to get another perspective, historical context. There's an interview in here, right here. This is where he talks with Bill Finger. And in this interview, we want to get to pages 44 and 45. This is where we also learned that Bill Finger is like Al Bundy. He was a shoe salesman. He sold shoes. At the time, was a shoe salesman. So he recounts this story, which is like here. Like, Finger remembers Kane phoning to say that he had an idea for a character. Okay. Red tights, diamond mask, like all of these things. So the description here that Bill Finger recounts is far from Batman. So at that point, the extrapolation is that Bill Finger told Bob Kane what Batman should look like, and somehow that got drawn up. That got drawn up. But this story here, this is like, it's hearsay. It's one account versus the other. By this time, by the time of this interview, they were estranged. It's not like, and Bob Kane refuted it. So, we have Alter Ego, Volume 2, Number 5, summer 1999. Okay, so there's a webinar by the guy that wrote this article, and he even gets, if you watch that webinar, I'll link that down below. The guy doesn't even get his own issue right. He gets his own issue wrong. Okay, see, we're in volume 2 for magazine publications. Every time you have a year, you have a new volume. Comic books does not follow that format, because they're sequential. Magazines do, because they're by month. They're right. So we get this article in here, the Batman cover story, a tale of Bob Kane's Dark Knight detective that could have been, by Armin Schumer. So he also is a comic book historian. His work is also on the way. He did a book called The Silver Age. I believe it's The Silver Age of comic book art. Before I develop a total opinion on him, I need to go through his work. But as of now, this is the article that kickstarted everything, where he, just finds, this is the pose from Detective 27. So, and he's like, he ripped it off. Okay. Like that, completely meaningless. It was such a wide practice, even back then. Even now, comic book artists trace. You have to deal with that. So what he does is he designs Batman in the Hal Foster pose, and he draws one picture that is where Bill Finger described it. Let's get to pages 44 and 45. All right, so he takes Bill Finger's account and draws it up, and then, does some good digging, though. He finds some reference that Bob Kane clearly used. And then he writes, here we go, the real facts and true lies. So then we get, we don't get a story, we get a comic strip. Okay, and this comic strip is just accepted as truth now. and AKA Powders, we don't have a lot to read here. I mean, this is stuff you read on the crapper. And then we get, like, there's an interview with Bill Finger's son, which was totally, I mean, Bill Finger basically, Fred Finger, he basically, like, he was invisible, okay? When it's Bill Finger's relationship with his family is, you know, like, if we want to talk about character things, because people love attacking Bob Kane's character, you know, like, you have to echo that to a guy that had a estranged family. So Bill Finger didn't have a good relationship with his family, and then later didn't have a good, you know, no relationship with Bob Kane. Bob Kane, even in his biography, he says that, you know, like, you know, he wishes he could have given Bill Finger more credit along the way. But, you know, like, in hindsight, in reflection, that's the move. That's the best thing you can do. That's the best thing you can say. Stan Lee and other people have also said the same thing. So it's not one versus the other, because this claim here was never challenged in court. There was no lawsuit, right? Where was the lawsuit? Where's the claims? Put him on the record. Get deposition. None of this was done. And because none of that was done, Bill Finger gets the sound off, which is what he did here. And who knows? Maybe there was a drawing similar to this, or an idea in Kane's head. Then maybe he had this idea and then later was like, you know what? No. Because everything Bill Finger claims, we don't have evidence of. Bob Kane can claim that he designed The Dark Knight in 1934. You have to have a claim that dispels this. Like, you have to eradicate this with evidence, and they can't do it. Guys, I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, just wanted to show off what you guys may want. Buy these. Buy this. Determine things on your own.